if we're just love, if we're just in a state of love, which is our natural state, how do we know what it is? How do we experience it as anything but? Because if we're like ill, now if we're always healthy, we don't know what it means to be ill. We don't appreciate what we have in our health. So it's the same with this, it's the same with love. If we don't know anything else, how can we appreciate ourselves as being love? So we choose to go into this third dimensional illusion of duality to experience all the emotions that we have, and all the facets of fear and all the facets of love. And that's what I bought into, completely and utterly, until I realized that wasn't getting me anywhere. I was being all things to all people, trying very hard, but really wasn't happy inside of here. So then I realized this is where I needed to get back to. I needed to simplify my life, I needed to stop needing to be liked, and I just needed to just speak my truth and be who I am. So I experienced the fear, and now it was about me getting back into the love state. And this is the journey. Some people may know that there's 7 chakras, and others may know that there's 13. And the 13 are just aspects. There's 1 at the base, 2 at sacrum, 3 in the solar plexus, 1 in heart, 2 here, 3 here, and again 1. And the 3 here is what I'm going to talk about, because we can all know, first we know things, then we experience things in order to have an awareness of things. So here we're just all knowing. So it's the intellectual understanding, the intellectual knowing, and a lot of people I know are doing what's called spiritual intellect, have their spirituality in their head. And I was one of them. I knew everything, I understood everything, but I hadn't experienced it. So this is where I'm now going back into and helping other women also to, or generally everybody, to get back into that feminine, which is what we need at this point. It's the women who need to now step forward to embracing their feminine essence, their being in heart, and creating communities where we can work together as a collective so that we can prepare for those changes. Because look where patriarchal society has gotten us. And this is nothing against men or advocating females or not putting men down. It's simply a fact. The masculine aspect within all of us is fear-based. So we need to prove things. We need to be out there for ourselves. The feminine knows that there is inclusion and every perspective is valid. And so the 3 aspects is the seeing something, then it's an experience of it, and in order for us then to know it, to fully have an awareness of it. So I use my crystal to demonstrate that. Each one, our human perspective is one side of the crystal. This is, I can't see what you can see there. So I might say, well, mine is really smooth. And you say, no, it's ruffled. And so we each see something different. But it's all part of the same truth. Because if we shift our perspective to that highest point here, all is true. And this goes very much about, the reaction to the events that Alex was talking about that are to come. We all have filters through which we hear what is being presented to us. Some will say, and the majority of the population is in denial about it. I'm saying, I don't have time for this crap. My life is going well, thank you very much. I'm too busy. I don't want to talk about it. Others say, well, at least I have an awareness of it. If I have an awareness of it, what can we do about it? I might as well die, but at least I have an awareness. That's another filter. And then there's the people who prepare. Then there's the people, like the light workers, who say, well, no, we're bringing out this fear. And in bringing out this fear in people, the core fear, we're actually affecting what's going to happen, because it's a cause and effect thing. So more people buying into the fear, the more people are going to be affected, and the more we're creating a bad event. That's one filter as well. Because from a different perspective, again, we could say, well, isn't it important that we understand where that we have this fear? Wouldn't we much rather know what's within us so that we can dissolve it and release it, rather than pushing it under the carpet? Because if we know it, we can move through it. And that's the key. So what I want to do is I want to firstly give you an understanding of why you are here personally. Why have you chosen to incarnate at this time where all these things are going to happen? Have you chosen to incarnate to simply experience moving over into another dimension, experiencing a death that could be perhaps quite traumatic? Death, because it is an illusion as well. Or have you chosen to be here in order to prepare? Are you a leader that wants to help other people to get into their heart about this, fully aware and saying, yes, this is going to happen and this is what I choose to do? Are you somebody who's going to rebuild? What is your role? Are you somebody who's simply going to hold space? Simply holding love, being the eye in the storm, that silence in the storm where everything around is going haywire. Are you somebody who's going to look after the children because they need to stay innocent? Are you somebody who's a very practical guy, who's like a masculine, who says, right, I'm going to rebuild. This is what we've got to do. We've got to dig a bunker. We've got to have concrete above us. This is what we've got to do. What is your role? So I'm going to guide you through a meditation where you're going to get in touch with your higher self and perhaps remember what that role is for you. Because the key throughout all of this is that we are going through the 5 stages of grieving in one way or another with this. And are you familiar with the 5 stages? No. I'll just briefly run you through them. So firstly, there's the denial. This can't happen. This is far too big. This is crazy. What's he talking about? This can't happen. This is too big. Denial. Then comes the anger. And in one of our lectures, we had a lady who initially wrote on the website. Actually, I'll talk to you through them first. So there's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And in one of our lectures, somebody said, you've forgotten a stage. There are 6 stages. There's the excitement afterwards. Once we've accepted it, there's the excitement. Because if we have chosen to incarnate at this time, we must be pretty advanced scriptwriters because we want to have drama in our lives. And I don't know if Alex spoke to you about the scriptwriter idea of that before we incarnate, we decide what we want to experience in our lives. So we write that script and we find the actors up here that can help us fulfill that script. And then we incarnate and we play it out. We become the actor. And most people forget that in becoming the actor, we forget that we were the scriptwriter as well. Because we're getting too attached to just one side. We forget everything else. We forget that perspective. So it's about remembering at this time the perspective of the higher self. What is your purpose and what have you chosen to create in this life? What have you chosen to experience? So, for example, if you've chosen to experience love, you would need to create the absence of love. So what you would incarnate in would be a family where there might be a lot of domestic violence, sexual abuse, just anything that is anything but love. Or joy, similar thing, or you want to experience health. So you incarnated into a body that's very ill. And the problem is, or the challenge, is that we attach to those things. So once we've been sexually abused, once we've had traumas happening in our lives, once we've felt rejected, we attach to those emotions and we project them forward into the future. And so we almost anticipate that that's going to happen again, right? Because that's what our past experience was. So the key is to not attach, because only then, and by knowing what the purpose is, by going back to that higher perspective, can we then remember for what purpose we chose to experience those things. So the more ups and downs you have in your life, the more advanced the soul you are, the more advanced the scriptwriter you are. There was a lady in one of the seminars and she put on Alex's website an attack of, I need some proof, what you're saying is outrageous, where's your evidence? This was before the lecture, so there was her denial, first stage. After the lecture, she wrote another email. Thank you for ruining my life. Thanks very much for the awareness you've given me. This is all crap. I had a perfectly beautiful life, and now I've got all this awareness and going around in my head. Thanks very much. Anger. I don't know about her bargaining stage, but on the way home she also said that she cried. On the way home from the lecture, she was in her car going to a birthday party of her grandson, crying. You know, I've got all this awareness now. What am I going to do with it? How can I be happy for him? Depression. And that's a good thing. You know, these emotions, because we've come here to have these emotions, to experience what it feels like, to have this variety. And other beings from other dimensions, they look at us and thinking, wow, there's such richness. And look what we've created with it. Music, dramas, films, incredibly beautiful things, all because of these ups and downs of emotions. So they're not to be ignored. And you know, all of you are going to be at one stage or another with these emotions in those 5 stages. And my aim is to give you an understanding of an experience of going back up here, going to that 5th stage, give you an experience right now of what that feels like, so that in the couple of days to come, you will be able to remember that. And still accept those fears, because I liken it to a water balloon. You know, if you have a water balloon, you're in the pool, and you don't want anybody to see that you've got this balloon, you try and push it down on the surface. It takes a lot of energy, because it kind of comes up somewhere else again, doesn't it? And you try and push it down again, it comes up somewhere else, and you're spending all this energy suppressing these emotions that you don't have any time and energy to plan. So accept these emotions, celebrate them, live them, honor them, and move through them. Don't attach to them. Does that make sense? And that's really key. And I know it's easier said than done, but if you can remember that, that would be fantastic. My dad passed away 2 years ago, and that was in Germany, so I didn't fly to the funeral. A couple of weeks later, I went into the cinema, and there was a film playing about a Japanese ceremony of cremation and how the rituals that they do. I felt I was at my dad's funeral. I was crying, but I was at a date at the same time. So this was a bit weird. You know, I was grieving for my father's passing over, and I was having this date. And I noticed myself needing and wanting to have a shoulder to cry on and lean on. But that wasn't our agreement. We were there to have fun. So realizing that my inner child needed something, and she needed to be assured, and she needed love, I took myself off, excused myself, took myself to the toilet, allowed myself to cry for 5 minutes, just let it all out, and then I talked to my inner child. And I told her that she was still loved. I told her everything that you would tell a little child that was crying when she's upset about something. And I put my hands on my heart, and I felt her, and I kind of held her like this. And then I cleaned up my face and went down again, and we had a great night. So I honored my emotions. I expressed them, I let them go, and I carried on what I needed to do. So if you can remember that story when you're getting into one of those phases, maybe that might be able to help you to honor it and move through it very quickly. So let's go into why you are here. So what I'd like you to do is just put down all your pens and papers. So just put your hands not open like you would normally in a meditation, but downwards, because it's like you're giving yourself the energy. This is all about you. The receiving, just trust that the receiving will still come into you and through your hands into your body. So I'd just like you to close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Feeling your body on the chair and your feet on the floor. And just deepening and lengthening your breath. I just want you to imagine to open the soles of your feet and connecting your energy to the heart of the earth, to the heart of Mother Gaia. Whatever you visualize in the heart of the center of the earth to be. It could be a flower, it could be a crystal, it could be a heart, whatever it is for you. And there is no right or wrong. So whatever you get throughout this meditation, throughout this visualization, is perfectly right for you. And if you don't get anything, then just pretend, just make it up. So feeling the connection to the earth, feeling her energy merging with yours, bringing it into your body and through your body up, through the crown of your head, to the Cosmic Mother, to all that is, to Source, your higher self, God consciousness. And just feeling that sense of oneness, connecting above and below, expanding, opening your heart, being fully present in the now. And I want you to visualize being in a beautiful, natural setting, your favorite place in nature. This could be at the beach, in a beautiful meadow, or in the forest. And just notice in the distance a figure appearing, a being. And this being has an incredibly powerful energy. Just notice her or his walk and the qualities that this being has. Incredible sense of love, personal power, wisdom, grace, whatever else there is for you. And just watch this being approaching you, coming closer and closer. And just see her or him with your heart, not just with your eyes. Feel this being as it approaches you. And now you're standing eye to eye, looking into his or her eyes, right into the soul. And this being has a message for you. And it's whispering in your ear why you are here right now, why you have chosen to incarnate at this point in time. What is your purpose? Are you here to prepare for the shift? Are you here to rebuild after? Or are you here to observe it from outer space? And what specifically is your role if you are here to rebuild or to prepare? What have you come here for? And now thank the being. Maybe he or she has given you words, maybe just a feeling, whatever it is perfectly perfect. And just give him or her a big embrace. Connecting your hearts, merging, becoming one. Feeling the feelings, feeling the beingness of this being. Seeing the world through his or her eyes. Experiencing that strength and power, that stillness, that courage, that love, and whatever else there is for you. being one. And notice how good that feels. And now visualize that there is a cockpit, like of an airplane. And you're going to walk in, it's your personal plane, and you're the pilot. And there's lots of switches and flickers and lots of wires going off everywhere. Some are big, some are small, some are colorful, some are grey or brown or dark black. Just have a good look around there. This is your DNA. It's the control room of your DNA. And your DNA, of course, being the blueprint of who you are. It's got recorded in it all of your life's experiences, all of your ancestors' lives' experiences, and all the experiences you've had in alternate or past lives. It's all there, right in front of you. So have a good look around. And I would like you to see all the switches that have reptilian DNA in it activated, all those wires, and have a look at what they look like. Maybe they're scaly, maybe they're green, maybe they're brown. Are they really thick? How many are there? Are they really alive? Are they pumping juice through them? What's happening with them? What do they look like? I'd like you to take a good note of them, and if it feels right for you, deactivate them by flicking the switch from on to off. And notice what's happening. Maybe they're shriveling, maybe they're shrinking, reducing in size or color. What's happening to them? And again, if you can't see anything, just make it up, just pretend. And if you like, just follow them all the way through your body, and you might just rip the whole thing out, and you might also like to roll them up, like a film roll, and put them into your reference library. Or you might just let them go back to where they came from. Whatever feels right for you. When you've done that, just have another look at your control panel. See if there are any hiding wires that maybe you haven't seen at first glance. Sometimes they can be very sneaky. Just see if there are any of those or any other things that you would like to flick off. Fear, need to control, need to be attached to emotions. Anger, depression. Just go ahead and flick those switches off. And notice how it changes. Notice how suddenly there's more room because they're shrinking and shriveling, and you're taking them out and either storing them in the library or just letting them go into the ether, away, back to where they came from. Because you have experienced what it feels like to live with that fear, and now is the time to let that go. Because you know it, you've experienced it. So there's no need to attach. So if there are any switches that have attachment, any attachment switches, just go ahead and flick them off as well. And know that you can come back there any time. And now for the exciting part. What I'd like you to do is look at all the switches and all those patterns and panels that have love, strength, courage, abundance, awareness written on them. What do they look like? Are they on full? Are they on half? Are they off? And just go ahead and just turn them on full and see what happens. Notice new juice, new energy moving through them. taking up all the spaces that you've cleared. And follow them through your body. And notice what they're doing. There might be tingling, there might be an opening, an expansion. And when you've done that, just become aware again of who you are in all of you, who, not just in your human self, but in this beautiful state, being merged with all of who you are, being merged with your higher self. Just again feeling, being that being. And allowing it to just expand in your being, using the breath to do this, fully connecting with that. And come back to the natural setting that you're in, your beautiful space in nature. Feeling the shifts in your body, or noticing what's different, what's the same. And then becoming aware of being in this room, staying connected to all of who you are. Maybe wriggling your toes and your feet and your hands, having a bit of a stretch, and in your own time, opening your eyes. And just trust that whatever you needed to get, you got. Even if you couldn't follow the whole thing. And how are you feeling now? Did some of you feel a shift or more clarity? A lot lighter. Yes. Because we have a choice. If we go to that higher perspective, this is who we are. We are that lightness. So whenever we get bogged down with these emotions, we can just doing that. And you don't have to take half an hour to do it. You can sometimes just maybe even just touch your heart, remember that vision, and that lightness will come back. So this is one of the preparations of how you can prepare for the changes on an emotional level, because knowing that emotionally it can be a roller coaster, so it's about acknowledging that and shifting back to the spiritual perspective of things that can help you to maintain your calm and go about things the way you want to. And maybe even that childlike innocence, that childlike excitement, because children don't have any good or bad. They don't know what's right or wrong. They're just exploring the world and they're getting surprised at being told off. So just tapping back into that inner child as we're preparing for these changes would be a really, really helpful thing. So that's the spiritual and emotional preparation. Mental preparation, simply visualize exactly how you choose to respond to those events when they happen. Imagine what you'll do when the ground is shaking. Imagine what you'll do and how you'll respond when people are suddenly coming to you because they heard you talk about it, asking for help. Visualizing yourself being the eye of the storm, that calm center. And running this through your mind over and over, because in doing so, what you're doing, you're creating new neural pathways. Scientifically, it's proven that if we are in an alpha state and we visualize things, we can change our neural pathways into something as if we've already experienced it. And wouldn't that be a great thing if you react to these events as if you've done it 1,000,000 times over already? I used to prepare for public speaking like this. I used to visualize exactly how I wanted to feel. And when things went wrong, I would still be calm. So it really does work. And there's an experiment by a football team as well. I don't know if you're familiar with that. They've divided the team. One half was going to play on the field and the other half was playing in their mind, training the same amount of hours. And guess which team would win when they came back after a week? Yeah, the visualization ones. Do you know why?
Because they prepared what they wanted.
Yeah, exactly. They had no evidence of failure. They never got it wrong in their mind. They always got it right. So their neural pathways were very strongly geared towards getting it right. So it's incredibly powerful. So if you choose to do that, I invite you to maybe 5 times a day, practicing, visualizing exactly how you choose to be. And there's another thing, and Source always says there's no good in meditating for an hour a day. It's the moment by moment that we really want to experience. So he says 5 times for 5 minutes. So if you can, go into your heart 5 times for 5 minutes a day. Simply connecting to all of who you are. Feeling that lightness, feeling that love in your heart. Remembering that this is who you are love. So experiencing that for 5 minutes, 5 times a day would be an incredibly powerful thing to do. Again, because there's very small, there's only a couple of hours between those 5 minutes, 5 times a day, in which you will remember and you will strengthen that way of being if you're not already doing that. And with that, I'd like to invite Alex back to talk a little bit about the physical preparations. And just be very consciously aware that as you're hearing how to prepare, that you stay in the space that you're in right now. It's a great exercise to keep that lightness up. So with that, I'll hand over again.
If any of you are like me, I tried meditation once, couldn't do it. There was so much going on in my mind, and I tried many, many times to get it happening, and it just wouldn't work. And I had this voice in saying to me, that's not the way, it's not the way, it's not the way. And eventually when Source started to connect to me, he explained to me why. He said, people are meditating to try and clear their thoughts. He said, but every thought comes from Source. So when they're trying to clear their mind, they're then trying to fill it with thoughts from Source, from God. So they're sort of defeating the purpose. And he said the purpose is to be out in the middle of everything and be calm. Not to go off and be calm and be away from everything and then to come back into the world and go, oh my God, I can't deal with it, I need to go and meditate. So the thing is, no, you need to be in that state and you need to be in the middle of the hurricane all the time. And I think Osho talks about it a lot. For those of you who are familiar with Osho, is that every moment is a meditation. And that idea about, if you have trouble meditating or connecting, just go into your mind and visualize what you want. It's like, what do I want for Christmas? Yeah, visualize it. Because your thoughts are powerful because they're totally reflecting the whole creation of the universe. It's all thought. Everything is thought. It's a good, useful exercise. It will work. It's like a tennis player. If you're pretty crap at tennis and a coach shows you how to hit the ball properly, you need to practice. You need to go out and you need to practice and practice and practice. And that little 5 minutes a day thing, everyone can do that. In terms of what we need to do physically, obviously there's going to be big changes and we need to do a lot of planning and preparation. Basically, you need to find somewhere out of the sun that's going to have a certain amount of thickness of preparation